Hello, I am Chris Jackson from ActionQA.com. Previously, we went over how to install Nightwatch, the web drivers, and how to create an empty Nightwatch config file. In this video, we're going to go over how to write and run a simple test in Nightwatch. We're going to test going to blacklivesmatter.com, clicking the donate button, and verify some text on that donation page. And this will be a very easy test. So let's dive in. First step, I'm going to let you know that I use Visual Studio Code for all my text editing. So if you see my text editor for typing everything out, that is Visual Studio Code. It's free. So go code.visualstudio.com and you can download it for yourself or use whatever editor that you feel good with, whatever you're comfortable with. You can even use Notepad if you want to. Another thing to keep in mind is to always have this website up when you're playing with Nightwatch. That is nightwatchjs.org. A lot of what I'm covering is here in all the instructions, and especially writing tests. Gives you the basic example for writing tests. And just to show you what we're going to be doing today, so we're going to go to blacklivesmatter.com, and we're going to have a test that clicks the donate button. And then we're just going to verify that this text, urgent, fund the movement, is right there. That's all we're going to do. So let's get to that. In the previous lesson, we created a few files in this directory. I'm using YouTube_Nightwatch. And you should have a nightwatch.conf.js file that we generated. Let's go ahead and open up that. Oh, by the way, yeah, that's if you just type code and dot, that'll just open up Visual Studio Code in this directory. So here we go. We got our Nightwatch config file here, nightwatch.conf.js. And what is the most important thing right now is the source folders. So we're going to need at least one folder that's going to hold our test files. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to create a directory called test or tests. Yeah, make dir tests. And since we're running Nightwatch from here in this directory, you don't need to put the full path. All you need to do is put the relative path. So if we put tests, it should recognize that. There's nothing in there now, so if we run Nightwatch, npx Nightwatch, and npx is just a shortcut for running Nightwatch out of the node modules directory here. Actually, I'm kind of curious. I've never run this just with no tests in the test folder. Let's see what happens. There we go. No tests defined. So we're going to need to create a test. So I'm going to go over here, create a new file, and I'm going to call it blacklivesmatter.js, JavaScript file. To create a new test, we're going to use modules.export. Is it export or exports? I always forget. That's why we have the developer guide right here, and it is exports. The first thing is going to be the title of our test. So this test, I'm going to call it Donate to Black Lives Matter, colon. And there's a couple ways of writing this. You can go function browser, or you could also use the new arrow syntax. I do believe that is just browser arrow. There you go. So let's see what they use here. They use the function syntax. Yeah, you can, either one will work for you. So the very first thing we want to do with this test is navigate to the website. The browser object here is basically a big wrapper around Selenium. And Nightwatch gives us a lot of convenience methods to make things easy. The .url method lets us navigate. So blacklivesmatter.com is where we're going to navigate. And let's just see what happens. Got to save this off. Let's go back to our command terminal here. npx Nightwatch. What? There's nothing there. I mean, no tester to find. It should be a test to find. Ah, you see what I did? I put it here at the root, and I didn't put it under tests. Of course, move that right there. Oh, how silly of me. So now that it's there in the right folder. Ugh. Oh, there we go. npx Nightwatch. Modules is not defined. What do you mean it's not defined? Module.exports. My bad. It's getting late. Never record these videos when it's getting late. Here we go. Let's try that again. npx Nightwatch. Error retrieving a new session. What? So what's happening here? I think I can tell you what's happening. Is that for our web drivers, we didn't specify. It should have just used Firefox. But you know what? I don't even think I have Firefox installed in here. So, got Firefox down here. We also have Chrome. I do have Chrome installed. So let's see. You can specify different environments by going -E. -E stands for the environment. I'm going to say Chrome, the thing that's defined right here. And you could define your own environments as well, but let's keep it simple. This is what was generated here. We have the Chrome driver installed. Let's see what happens just by doing Nightwatch -E Chrome. What? And look at that. What happened? It just went away really quick. It's an invalid argument. What? You know what we probably didn't do is we need to put the full website. And also we probably want to slow it down so we can actually see what happened. So let's see. What's the full URL of Black Lives Matter? blacklivesmatter.com. I'm just going to click that URL. HTTPS. There we go. Things are looking better already. Now, if you want to slow things down so you can see what actually happens, let's put a little sleep here, or a pause. Browser.pause. And in here, you put a number. And the number is in milliseconds. So if you want to wait, let's wait for 3 seconds. 3 times 1,000 milliseconds. That will give us 3 seconds. Save our file. Go back here. Let's see what happens. There you go. We have Black Lives Matter. Now, let's go back to the site. What we want to do next is click on this donate button. What I like to do is use the DevTools to figure out where this button is on the page and how to select it. On Windows, you just press F12, but if you're on Mac, you're going to hit Option, Command, I. And that will bring up the DevTools right here. And what I liked then is use this little arrow thing right here. If you click on that, go down here, and then you hover over what you want, then you click on it, and it brings it right here. That's exactly what we want. Unfortunately, I don't have an easy ID to use right here, but what you can do is right click right here, go down to copy, then I copy selector right here. Now, let's just reduce this to 1 second for now, because we're going to go do something else. So now we want to click on something. By default, Nightwatch uses CSS selectors, but you can also make it use XPath if you want. And I'll show you that in a second. But right now, it's using CSS. And if you want it to explicitly use CSS, you go browser.use CSS. If you wanted it to use XPath, you can go use XPath. But I think by default, it uses CSS selectors. So let's click that CSS selector. Ooh, that is ugly. So this is the full CSS selector right here that we just copied out from that page. So what should happen here, and let me go to the end over here. Just go to the end and browser, do another pause. Let's do another 3-second pause. Can we see what happens? What this should do is go to the URL. It's going to pause for a second. Then it's going to click this donate menu right here. And then it's going to pause for another 3 seconds so we can see what happened. So let's go back here and launch Nightwatch. Oh, you know what? You know what? That is a lot of goodness right there. Did you see that pop-up that just came up? Yeah, that's going to get in our way every single time. So what we're going to have to do is dismiss that pop-up when it first comes up. So let's get a new incognito window going on here, just so we don't have anything cached. So blacklivesmatter.com website doesn't know. There we go. Now, what we did before was figure out where this X button is to get rid of this pop-up. Click this, find out where this little button is. Right click there, copy, selector. And we can get rid of this site now. Now, I'm going to use some variables to make it easier to read what's happening. So const dismiss pop-up. And that will be the selector. Then browser dot click dismiss pop-up. Then, just so we can see what happened, browser.pause for 1 second. And I'm not sure if this is going to work. So let's see what happens here. Boom. It just worked. Let me run that one more time. Maybe put a couple more seconds between each pause right here. 3 seconds each. Run the test. Now it's going to dismiss that pop-up by clicking the X, and then it's going to click the donate button. Then it's going to take us to the page. There we go. And you get to see the output of that right here. And you notice here, it's like no assertions ran. Nightwatch uses assertions to check if things happen or not. It's easier to show than to say, but let me go over here to this website. Let's go over back to this reference right here. There's assertions, and there's a whole bunch here on assertions, but I always go to the API reference right down here and look at all of these assertions. So there's a lot of out-of-the-box assertions that Nightwatch gives you. So what we're going to look for here is the ContainsText assertion, because we're going to try to find, after we click this donate button, what this text is, if this text is present. And then our test will pass if this is present. So assert.ContainsText. Ignore the not for right now. We'll cover that in more detail later. But assert.ContainsText. And what's really handy here is if you go down, it shows you the usage of this browser.assert.ContainsText. And sometimes in these, they'll give you also a little bit further in-depth examples as well. But we see right here, it's pretty simple. The element that we're trying to, let me bump this up a little bit. Contains text. That's like the element we're trying, the CSS selector. And here's the text that we want to verify that's in that CSS selector. So over here, we need to find out what this element is. So go back to this little guy, click the little arrow here, hover here. Cool, we see the text is right there. I'm going to right click here, copy that selector, and go back to Visual Studio Code. Now, I'm going to create a little variable so it's a little bit easier to read. Const urgent text. And paste what we had. And here's the assertion. Browser.assert.contains text. And we're going to do the CSS selector, which is urgent text. And we're going to want to verify urgent fund the movement. Copy that text here. And then I want to put another pause here. And let's see what happens. Here we go. We're clicking the button. It's going to dismiss that pop-up. Now we're going to hit the donate button. And then it's going to verify. Oh, wait a minute. The text changed. What? How did that happen? When did that happen? Now, seriously, I did not plan this at all. I don't know why that happened. Something changed. So, fund the movement. The urgent is now gone. But that's actually a good thing. We get to see that if the text wasn't there, then we'd get this failure. Doesn't contain urgent fund the movement. I really wish they would also pop out, what is actually there, but they don't. So we're going to need to update our test. Somehow this changed. Let me refresh the page. Did it change right now? Is someone just editing it? Weird. Okay, I don't know what's going on, but it did say fund the movement. So let's see what happens. We change this to fund the movement. This is bizarre and wasn't planned, but it did give a good test case here. Let's go back to our command line. Try that again for fund the movement. Now we're going to dismiss the pop-up. We're going to click donate. What? And now? But it should pass this time because the term fund the movement is there. And it did. Testing if the element contains text, fund the movement. Okay. I cannot tell you why that text changed briefly during this. Maybe somebody's editing the website right now. That was really interesting, but it did show you what happens if you put in the wrong text right here. And that is the test. Now let's, just for fun, I'm going to show you if we get rid of all these pauses, how fast this will do its thing. All right, so now no pauses. Go over here. Let's see how quick it does everything. Boom, there you go. Couldn't even see it happen. And that is it. Thank you very much. I am Chris Jackson from actionqa.com. Please let me know if you enjoyed this video. Please leave some comments. Thank you very much.